camera mount bracket. These are the instructions that you'll need to try to help you make this be a better experience. And if you purchase your lights and camera through our affiliate link, that helped us out too. We appreciate that. It's not something that we take a lot of joy in, having to ask for money for these things, but there's a lot of expenses and a lot of time, the time mainly. And my son, you know, he's still an actively employed as a kid and one on the way, and his time is valuable, so I'm trying to help him with this as well. This is kind of my hobby and his desire to help me. So first thing you need to do on your stock bike is remove the tail light. There are 2 nuts with 2 star washers. Make sure you don't lose these because they will be reused during installation. Okay. These nuts are not perfect, but I was able to use a 5/16 small wrench, 5/16. It may be a metric, but I didn't have a metric wrench that fit it very well. Okay, once that's released, this is going to be the brake wiring that goes to your tail light. Make sure you don't just try to snap this off. It's very delicate. So with gentle pressure, pull it straight out, okay? And if you look in there, you can see that there are teeny tiny little pins. So when you put this back together, there's a little bitty indexing point. There's a little slot inside of there, and there's also a slot inside the wire, so you can't put this in wrong, okay? But when you reassemble it, just make sure that you go slow, you wiggle it until you feel it in, and then insert it, okay? Don't get rough with this or you're going to be sad, okay? And then we'll bring this inside and I'll show you how to make it up. All right, thanks. Alright guys, this is what comes in a full kit. Full kit being the flasher light, okay, the headlight with its mount. We end up having a bright light, a strobing type, middle light, like I said, it's strobe, low, middle, and high. Very nice. Another nice feature about this particular light is look how compact it is, and it slips off very easily. And of course it's rechargeable USB. I end up with this in my pocket just about as much as I end up with it on the bike, because it's good for trail walking, or hey, I lost something in my car or whatever. It's a quality light, okay? And it comes with 2 of the charger cords, handlebar mount for the headlight, and then we're going to alter this because this is designed to go around your seat stem, and if you have a bag on the back or a rack, it's just not visible. And if you try to put it on the rack end, it doesn't have what it needs to have to make that work well. So we'll have them installed where the writing is up, so that you have the 2 side lights that give you the side motion lights that are needed. Okay, so on this light, cut it off, put it on. That's a low blink. There's a high blink, and there's a staying on, and then an off. Okay, so I'm going to have to take this apart and reorient it for our models. Okay, let's start off with a more complicated model that has the most. That's going to be the double. The double is going to have the ability to put the flashy light on, as well as the camera eyeball. The camera eyeball, we had to do some special things to make it work. And this is all 3D printed. It was designed by my son. It's robust. Not expecting any issues with it. But we had to make an indexing square on the inside, and there's a couple other little issues there, the height and things, to make it work perfect. Now, these are made to order. We got a few orders backed up because we didn't realize how many people were going to want them right off the bat, and so we're now getting more supplies in. That's why I haven't really been pushing it out there on the Facebook group, because I didn't have any to send out at the time. So this is what happens: is you'll unscrew the camera, and once you get it totally unscrewed, the eyeball is going to snap out. Okay, so there's your eyeball mechanism. Get some light over here. Okay. But the light ball socket is a little bit different. It's also made into a 3D piece on this clamp. Now, I don't advise you to throw the clamp away, because you might have a better use for it in the future if you decide you want to change things up. So there's a Phillips head screwdriver down in the middle, and I'm going to simply remove it. Okay. And that comes out. So you can see the factory indexing pieces inside there. Okay. So over to the side. We're going to take the newly made piece, so you got to roll it around until it gets indexed. It's very tight. Take a look at it here. There she is. Okay, see how tight that was? Then we'll start our screw. You don't want to super over tighten that. We've taken up most of the slack in the device. So I'm going to push it down. And it's going to have a finger groove type ending on it. Okay? And that's there by design. Okay. And then now you can gently tighten up the screw, but don't over tighten it, because we're dealing with plastics, right? The screw head should not protrude past the desired distance we've set up for it. Okay? One screw. Now, to put the blinking light on, this is in two sections. So when you hold here, and you break the two metal pieces apart, you're going to see that's what you'll ultimately do when you want to recharge it. Okay? But to have it mounted on here, I've got to have this piece. Okay? So in this piece, we've got to open her up, removing the little rubber backer. Everybody see that rubber backer? Okay, and set that to the side. Now we're back looking at another Phillips head screwdriver going into the back, and we're going to gently pull this screw out. This one can be a booger. I think it's got some thread lock on it as well. Okay. She comes out. You can see it popped off. So you can put this little rubber back in here, and later on in life, if you want to utilize that, you can. So now we got a situation where we've got to mount this piece using the same screw that came out. So if you'll notice, there's a neck on this, and there's an indentation we made for this. So it's going to be very precise and snap in. There it goes. Very, very precise. Okay. And then we're going to drop the Phillips head screw down the hole. If you feel like you'd like to Loctite that, you may do so. And it's starting to tighten up. We just don't want to over tighten anything. Okay, perfect. Alright, now I have the cup for the ball, and I have the base for the blinky light. This blinky light has a little bitty O-ring on it and some super fine threads. So we want to make sure that we don't cross thread anything. So as we turn, just make sure we're getting it. Now, one thing we discovered when we built these is whenever this tightened up, sometimes it did not tighten up with the logo up at the top. So if you want the logo at the bottom, follow these steps. If you want the logo up on the top, same thing. And here, and unloosen just enough so that you can rotate both pieces around and around. And I just like them up top. I think they just look better myself. If you want them out of sight, that's your choice. Then come back in here and give it a little snug. Okay, so now we're pretty much finished. Okay, what's next is the camera portion. The camera is pre-wired, so you want to start in the rear, not in the front. And to do this, you simply want to loosen your wires, and then in this hole, the right hole, I'm going to go ahead and put your plug and run your wires through. Okay, and the wires will be on the bottom of the frame of the camera. So when you do this, just set it down and then coax it in. Okay, so that's how it's going to snap. Alright, I want to just see that without the nut. Okay. So now we'll put the nut on it. And the nut will only go one way. Okay, so we're going to snap it in. Just being very gentle and going straight down. Okay, y'all hear it snap? Alright, now the ring will adjust it. So you got, right, left, up, down, any direction you want basically. So if you're riding your bike and you want to see more over of that side, you can do that. Or if you're riding where you are watching other people and you're the lead, you might want to move it in a different direction. But mine generally leans about that far over because I ride on the right side and I'm kind of interested in the knuckleheads that are coming up on my left side. Alright, so that wire is going to go through here. Okay, so when you have that tightened up enough, you can go out, and after you hook your camera monitor up, you can make your decisions of does it need to be moved. Alright, then you're going to go back to your stock tail light. I'll take your two nuts and your two star washers off. Okay, and try to look down in that pinhole again. You'll see on the lower side there's a slot, a raised slot. So you got to make sure when you reinsert, you're going to get it in the right orientation, and then you want to push straight in. Those pins are teeny tiny. Okay. All right. So we'll go ahead and put this on like this, and we're going to carry it out there, put it on the frame, a star nut and a bolt nut, and we'll tighten them down. If you know that you're going to keep it on there, then I probably again would suggest that you use the Loctite. If you have a single plate, you're going to do basically the same thing with the exception of adding the blinky light. You can have the single with a headlight and a camera, and then you could also add in the blinky light. Most people get it all one-stop shop because they get the extender bars and they get the Velcro cabling for the wire management. They get the mount for the headlight, and they know it's all going to fit on the way that we've designed it. Sometimes the price of toys has to take into consideration the time and effort and energy that people put into small projects. It's basically not like a big multi-deal. We're going to sell 400 million of these, and there's not much profit when you consider your time and your camera time and shipping and everything else. So there's no profit in here to speak of, but we'll do it one way or the other. If you want it just the plates only, that's fine. Just make sure that you get this link so you buy the right stuff. If you have a different bike brand and you want us to prototype that, we'd be willing to do that. You're going to have to help us a little bit by maybe taking some pictures with tape measures, so that we can see where the holes are, and we can prototype a piece of paper or even a thin piece of plastic, send to you in an envelope, let you place it up there to determine that the holes are right, and if it needs to be manipulated some before we go into production with it, that may be a thing to do. We've done stranger things, but with today's technology, I think we can get it done. Alright, I'm going to go out to the bike and install this. Alright, the first thing we want to do is to make sure that we have this plug in properly. There is a indexing groove on the top of this one, and then there's an indexing groove inside there. So it'll only go one way, and you need to look at it really good so that you don't mess it up. The pins in there are teeny tiny. You'll feel it'll slide, it'll go, and then once you know it's going, then you can firm it up. Alright, so the second thing we're going to do is reinstall the drop nuts and washers on the ground. So kind of keep up with those, don't do this out in the grass. And that's going to install right back with your stock screws that are mounted into the tail lights, and also the stock 5/16-ish nuts. I just don't believe in 5/16. I believe there's some metric, but I just couldn't find anything that appeared to be right on. So it's just like everything else. Some of these parts are so poorly made that they just slap them out, soft metal. If anybody else wants to determine if they are actually what they say they are, then 5/16 is what they are. Okay. And what you'll do is do your wire management, and you'll go down the frame, zip tying away, and you'll come back up. Kind of move forward now. I have another setup. It's mine personally. It started all this. I've just got it hanging there because I didn't want to unwrap all my wiring, but this will give you an idea. This is the wire, okay, and I've got it zip tied, and it's coming here, and I kind of tucked it on the inside there. It's tucked here. I zip tied it here, zip tied it here. The kit comes with a Velcro strap, so if you want the Velcro, you're going to have them. If you want the zip ties, you'll have to get you some. These zip ties are actually the zip ties that came with the Magicycle bike when I made my purchase. I just clipped them off at the right place so they were reusable. I've got it zip tied under my bag. I left myself some slack here for turning. It's under the bag in here. And if I'm a little wiggly, I lost one of my camera mounts today. That's another reason we got to charge a little bit every once in a while so that we can keep our equipment up and running. So this is also what you're going to get. You're going to get the tube, and then the tube will allow you to mount the monitor and the headlight. If you choose to purchase it without the headlight, that's fine. If you already have a headlight, not going to hurt our feelings. Then the monitors here, it's got a clear protective cover on it. These are all brand new parts. And then I really like this flashlight because it's also like if you're camping and you're riding back and forth to the motorhome and you want to walk through the woods for a little bit or whatever, you've got a flashlight, and it's quite bright. So that's the strobe. Low, middle, and bright. So it's bright. It's the strobe. Low, middle, right. In addition to, I left my Magicycle headlight mounted in its original spot because I've got that taller rack, and when you turn the handlebars, if you have that light up here on the front of the rack, it goes one way and you're looking somewhere else. So I like the way that mine still turns with the car or the bike, and then this one will also turn with the handlebars. So that's the exact light I have. Okay. And so when you get your wires up here, it just simply snaps in. You got to make sure it's fully snapped in. I'll let you listen to that. It has a double snap, so if you snap it one time, that's not going to have it. You got to go to that second level. I heard it. Because if you do it just with the one snap, you'll see a blue screen like that. So make sure she's all the way in. Okay. Did a little work on this earlier today, and it's going to be in a different video, but I have a temporary solution to take the slack out of this. And this is a Magicycle telephone holder. This does not come with any of the kits, and I think they'll put them on sale from time to time for $9. It's pretty cool. I mean, it's a quick release, and you just strap your phone on it. And it doesn't matter whether you strap your phone on this way or this way, because this is in the center, and then hard to do when you're right-handed, but just snaps in. I like that. So I'm really pleased. Tonight I also fixed my rear brakes with a mechanical brake. I did not put on the fully hydraulics. On the rear, I actually took off a cable-pulled hydraulic brake. And I'm telling you, these two brakes, these two mechanical 5-ball bearing BB5s, locking these brakes up. So can't ask for any more than that. I remember as a child when I had to do driver's ed, one of the test questions was, what is the best stopping time when you're putting on your brakes in water? And it was basically, it's the grip that happens the second before the tires break loose. So the most grip to the ground is not while you're sliding the bike, not while you're eating up your tire. It's that momentary second just before the tires lock up. So if your tires lock up, kind of pump your hands so that you get out of that skid and go back to braking.